Hello, Captains. Your host, the Doctor / Borg Drone here. Welcome to some Star Trek Online related content that also deals with Star Trek Discovery. So in the past week here, on April 13th, I posted this video that you are seeing on your screen. The date today is April 20th, and the question I asked was, do you want more Star Trek Discovery content in Star Trek Online? I had two polls in this video, and for 8 minutes, I asked that question and talked about it. Because Cryptic has been going full in lately on putting Star Trek Discovery related content in the game. We've had 2 official updates already. We had the Age of Discovery and the Mirror of Discovery, and now we know that in May we're getting another update called Rise of Discovery. And in fact, they just released one piece of that new content already called Operation Riposte, which is a new featured TFO. And you can check out that video in the top right corner playing that new TFO. So there's more Discovery era content coming to this game, mainly in the form of TFOs, even though they really haven't fleshed out the DSC Starfleet faction all that well. I did a playthrough of that faction as well. I'll put a link in the top right corner. It's very short. There's not a lot of Star Trek Discovery era missions in the game. It's very short, but yet they are still trying to give us Discovery era content in other forms. So it's a valid question because I believe people have, differing opinions on this. They either, one, dislike or like the material and content we've already had in the game with Star Trek Discovery, or they want more or less of Star Trek Discovery content in the game. And I thought this was a very valid question to talk about, discuss, and ask. So this is the poll result video today. I'm going to look at the polls. I haven't looked at them yet, so I do not know which way they're swinging. And then I'm going to go over your comments in this video. And you can see there are 150 comments. So I may not read all of them, but I'm going to skim through your comments. And I haven't read any of them yet. So I'm very interested to see what you have to say. If anybody objects to their name being shown in this video, send me a link and I will cut it out. Or send me a message and I'll cut it out. But since these are public comments on YouTube that anybody could come to this video and see, hopefully you will be okay with that. But I'm going to skim over your comments because I want to get your opinion on what everybody thinks. I think that's very important. So this is it. I'm going to go to the editor page here where we put up our videos in the content creator, and I'm able to view the polls and everything here. I'm going to refresh this page so we get the latest updates, latest comments on that, 150. And then I'll update this page so we have the latest poll results. And that should be good. Now we can look at the poll results. So the first poll I asked was, do you want more Star Trek Discovery content in STO? A simple question, yes or no. Do you want more or not? Let's see the results. Wow. So out of 154 responses, and thank you for all those poll votes, by the way, the majority do not want more Star Trek Discovery content in STO. 58% of people do not want more Star Trek Discovery content, and 41% do. So there are more no's than yeses. However, it's not split down the middle. It's not a, well, I don't know, I guess you could call this an almost landslide, but there's still quite a few people that do want Star Trek Discovery related content in STO. So we can't discount that either. So yeah, very interesting results there. Very interesting results. Only a difference of about 30 people between the yes and the no. Wow. There you go. I'm just trying to soak that information in. So the majority do not, but there are still quite a few people that do. So what does that tell you? What does that tell you? Let's look at the second result. Do you like the Discovery content already in Star Trek Online? The stuff they already have in here, Age of Discovery, Mirror of Discovery, all the updates they've had so far. Do you like the Discovery content that's already in Star Trek Online? Let's also remember the DSC Starfleet faction is part of all that too. Well, the majority like it. So there you go, 54%, and that's 150 total responses. Thank you for those polls votes there, but the majority do like the Discovery content that's in STO. So 54%, and then 45% no. That's a little closer than the last poll, though, I have to say. So that one's riding a lot closer to that 50% line, a lot closer to that 50-50 line. But it does swing closer to the yes on that one. Not as much, though, like 20 people or so. So that's interesting. So even though the majority do not want new Star Trek Discovery content in the game, the content that is in the game already is enjoyed by most, according to these two polls. So kind of differing there. You would think if people absolutely hated the Discovery stuff, this one would also swing that way, and we would get a lot more no's than yeses. But it appears that even though the stuff is in the game, people are still liking it to a degree. To a degree. I'm not saying it's the best stuff they've ever had in the game, but to a degree, people like the content. And I think what it more so probably is just the fact that people like new content, period, in the game. Anytime we can get new content that keeps the game moving forward, that keeps people interested in coming back in the game. So that in itself is just a plus anyway, just having new content, whatever the content be, just on a fundamental level. Having new stuff is good. But there you go. Do you like Discovery content already in STO? Yes wins, no loses. And do you want more Star Trek Discovery in STO? No wins, yes loses. There you go. That's the poll results. Very interesting. I did not expect those results. I want to thank everybody who participated in that poll. If you want to see me do more kind of polls like this and comment reads and stuff, definitely let me know, and subscribe, like, and all that stuff. And I can do more of these kinds of videos. I really would like to, because I want to bring user involvement, people that are actually playing the game, into this and get your opinion and your thoughts. I think it's very important. So thank you for all of your participation. Okay, so let's read these now. Again, I haven't read any of these comments, and I haven't even skimmed over this yet. This is my very first time looking at these comments. Not saying I'm going to go over all 150, but we're going to skim through this and just get the general consensus of what people have to say. How does that sound? Thanks for the video. Have a good weekend. No, personally, I don't give a heck about STD Discovery. Basically, Cryptic is following CBS goals to replace the original series and its 3 spin-offs, TNG, DS9, and Voyager, with its follow-up to the reimaged, reboot, remake Star Trek Enterprise after the end of First Contact, along with the dreaded JJ-verse. At least the latter hopefully is dead, though that person does not like it. I'm assuming you are not aware of CBS being sued over plagiarism. Actually, yeah, I did respond to that one because I am aware of that claim. Just to be clear to everyone reading, no, CBS isn't saying they didn't steal the content. They're trying hard to say that the tardigrade is public domain. So yeah, there's this whole thing going on. It's been going on since season 1 that they stole the idea of this tardigrade and this whole spore drive thing from I think it was a game. Actually, I know about it. I've heard about it. I've seen Midnight's Edge's videos, so I'm all aware about it. I mean, nothing I can do except just see what happens, see what goes on, all right. I made this little post. Maybe Control is in charge of CBS. Okay, no more Star Trek Discovery on Star Trek Online. So that's pretty simple there. My opinion is an emphatic no. Honestly, however, I doubt Cryptic even has a choice. There's likely a stipulation in their license agreement to help CBS to promote the show. Even if the show is bad, and it objectively is bad compared to something great like The Orville, Cryptic has to build Stowe according to CBS demands. There is also the Picard show coming up. Maybe Stowe will finally have Patrick Stewart lend his voice to the game. I kind of agree with some of that. I definitely think that they might not really have a whole bunch of a choice here. CBS is kind of like, you know, put the stuff in there and they have to do it. Maybe they're getting some money for it, you know? I don't know. I don't know the deals on all that. But to keep the name Star Trek and all that, maybe they have to. I get it. But, you know, people still are either going to like it or dislike it. I'm not going to read the replies to that. Certainly you can come here and check out replies. I'm just going to read the main posts. No, I don't want more. I don't watch the show, and it's kind of part of the reason I've stopped playing. Sick of it. I mean, there you go. That's a very, very, very solid opinion right there. STD content has made me stop playing STO after many years. I mean, what can I say? These are the Cryptic. These are the people playing your game. You need to listen to them. As long as DSC is on air, we will be getting DSC content. They are working closely with DSC writers. Personally, I would like to see more stuff from other things like Orion Syndicate, Gorn, other Prime Timeline stuff. I have had enough of DSC content, but if there's a grind for a cool item, I'll probably grind for it, even if it is DSC. And I'm of the same thought pattern there. Pretty much we've been getting a lot of grinds to get new gear, and of course if it's a new cool gear item, people are going to do it just for the gear item, not because it's a fun TFO, but just because we want that item, right? Not a Discovery fan. I'd love to see original content, expand the factions, new events, etc. My answer would be a big no. I want the Enterprise with a unique bridge. Well, it may also be the terms and agreements Cryptic has with their license holders. I'm a bit split because of how jiving Discovery is to the other series. Season 2 has improved the situation some, and Discovery fails to inspire me the way all previous series have, including TOS, which was made well before I was born. I personally don't want more, but because it is an active Star Trek production, I can accept it. I just wish there was less of it and more of Cryptic's own original storylines. Very, very, very good summary right there, I have to say. On a fundamental level, we can accept it because it's an active Star Trek production. That's cool. But I would also like to see Cryptic own original storylines. They did great with the Iconian storyline. You know, I want to see more stuff like that. I want to see more 25th century Prime Timeline stuff. Because the game is in the 25th century. We're not in the 23rd century in this game. It's supposed to be 25th century post-Nemesis stuff. So that's what I want to see more of, is post-Nemesis stuff. Admittedly, I haven't touched STO in a couple of years, but I do still try to keep an update with current info. My disinterest was mainly due to the homogenization of the Fed and KDF after the Iconian storyline. As a KDF player, it got to a point where the only difference between Fed and KDF missions was that I would get a Qapla' dialogue choice. Since I haven't played in a while, nor watched any of Discovery, I can't really speak about any of the current or future Discovery content. I do have to ask, how are they fitting in stuff from Discovery, which is based during TOS, into today's STO? To me, it doesn't make much sense. How is Discovery relevant when STO takes place in decades? Yeah, since you haven't played the game, how they do that is you start off the faction in the past, in the 23rd century, and then it jumps you forward in time, basically. There's a reason why you will have to jump into the 25th century and play all the other content. And the same thing happens with the TOS faction. You start off in the 23rd century, and then it thrusts you back into the future in the 25th century, and you're with the rest of the game. That's how it's done. Two separate instances at the beginning. You're in a completely different place. You're not with all the other players yet until you get to a certain point, and then you're back into the regular game. It's a little wonky, but it shows that they didn't really think it through when they were designing the game. They didn't ever think that we'd be going back into the past. They always thought they'd just be making current 25th century storyline missions. And then what changed it all was really the TOS faction. It was the first one to do that, to throw us back into the past and then have to come back to the future. So it was that kind of stuff wasn't planned from the beginning, for sure. To be honest, yes, at least the Enterprise ship, that's about it. A big yes for me. I like the old series and I like the new one. Move on, guys. You are not a temporal agent. So a big yes for that person. If you asked me last season, I would have said sure, why not? However, this current season has disappointed me greatly. Well, that's a little different than most people's opinions. Most people's opinions are season 1 sucked the most of Discovery, and season 2 is a lot better. Rise of Discovery will be the last update, according to Cryptic. Well, I guarantee you it won't be, because there will always, because we've got season 2 of Discovery now, season 2, and there's going to be a season 3 of Discovery. So I guarantee you, it's not going to be the last. They will want to bring in more season 2 stuff, and then of course we're going to have now another season of Discovery. They're going to want to bring in season 3 stuff. This won't be the last. I would rather them add stuff from a Star Trek show that didn't plagiarize their show's content. At least wait till the court case against CBS is over and we get a ruling. I get it. That's a big issue. Yes, please. Love the show hugely and the game content. So somebody really loves that. Great. No, I don't. The Iconian story on Gamma Quadrant 1 was great. They are my favorites. Temporal wars are just impossible for me to do. I don't watch Discovery, so my only exposure in it is Stowe. I don't mind it. I think any new content is good for the game. And on a fundamental level, I do agree with that. Any new content, period, is good for the game. It keeps it moving forward. It keeps the flow going, and it gives us things to do. So on that level, you know, that's nice. I don't know how much more they could put in. I guess they still have to catch Killy and the Klingon woman. My guess is that they team up, but who knows? I don't think they will put too much more because the continuity doesn't line up with the current timeline. They may add a few more starships and maybe the newer uniform. Oh, they will definitely add more starships. Anytime they can get a new starship in the game, they're going to do it. Heck, they brought in the JJ Enterprise, the Kelvin Timeline Enterprise. I mean, a ship that should have never been in this game, you know, for all the reasons. And it's in the game. They're going to bring in every ship that they can because people are going to spend money to buy it and get it. And that makes them money. And also, I think that they are going to create storylines out of Discovery that we would have never thought about. For example, the latest featured TFO we have, Operation Repost, it is made from a planet called Pryor's World, which was only a mention in Season 1 of Star Trek Discovery, yet they made an entire featured TFO about it in Star Trek Online. So they can take the smallest mundane thing in Discovery and make something out of it. That means there's a lot of potential for them to pull from in Discovery. Yes, a quick review of Disco would be cool. Not necessarily an episode-by-episode review, but I do like your Disco reviews. So yeah, I was talking about doing some Discovery reviews. I've never done consistent episode-to-episode reviews, but I would like to go back and rewatch the series and like review each episode because I really need to go back and rewatch Season 1. It was bad for me. I didn't like it at all. But I don't, so that means I just don't remember a lot of it. But I do need to go back and rewatch it maybe and do some reviews of each episode on an episode by episode basis. No, I do not want more VSE content in Stowe. No, please, no. Come say hi to a longtime Stowe player on Twitter. Anything created for the game isn't a simple copy and paste. It takes months of work to create any kind of content. Yeah, I was talking about creatively there, and I think I replied to your post about that too. Disco ships look like 50s TV reject designs. Enough already. Well, the Disco Enterprise definitely does. Not the Enterprise. The Disco Discovery definitely looks a reject because it is a reject. It was a Phase 2 design reject of Star Trek. So it is actually a reject design, 100%. That's right. They made the show based on a rejected Enterprise design. That's what it was. So I think that turned a lot of people off right at the beginning who knew about that. First of all, please rerun the Temporal Recruits event. They can pull out as much STD stuff as they want, as long as they still also release some normal Star Trek content every now and then, meaning the golden era. For example, a visually more pleasing update of the TNG Season 3, Season 7 uniforms that were originally released with the game itself. It looks blurry and like a cow has eaten it first, okay? Not even mentioning the clipping bugs at the arm or torso borders. Also, those recently released TFOs and also the 4 latest STD episodes have not granted XP at the beginning and always had to be patched. You can do better than that, Cryptic. Please give us actual loot again. Yeah, so they've got some bugs. They got some visual bugs. They got a lot of bugs in the game. See, I wish they'd spend a little more time fixing and squashing some of those bugs and visual bugs myself. One of the biggest problems lately was when they upgraded to the new Lighting 2.0 system in the game. The problem is the maps were not created using that lighting system. And so there are anomalies all over the game. Many missions actually have areas and places and parts that look terrible because the lighting doesn't work correctly in them. They weren't made for the new Lighting 2.0 system. And so now that they've just thrown it on and flipped the switch, they look terrible. They look bad. And there's a lot of visual errors and visual flickering and all kinds of visual problems with the lighting. They need to go back and do a pass of all of the missions in the game and update them with the Lighting 2.0 in mind, because you'll see a huge difference between a new map that's been created with Lighting 2.0 in mind and then the previous map or missions not created with it. They're terrible. And it broke a lot of things. And there's just so many bugs. See, that's one thing, is just they want to give us a lot of new content, but I want them to spend a lot more time actually fixing the bugs. That would be nice. All right. Yes, as much as I have the Enterprise, I would make an awesome flagship for my main Terran character. How about no, unless there's PvE mode to let us destroy the Discovery-verse ship's universe, that is. No more Discovery. No more STD and Star Trek grind online, please. Yes, particularly USS Enterprise and Enterprise Bridge. Personally, I like DSC series. My opinion, but I want to see more classic because it's fascinating. I want more Borg story. The Borg is enemy number 1. I found the second season of Discovery better than the first, and I agree that there will be more DSC content as long as it's on the air. Yes, it's time for some non-DSC content, and something like the Iconian War would do nicely, or maybe a new faction like the Delta Temporal Recruits. Mind you, a rerun of both would be nice too. Anyway, keep up the good work. Well, thank you. I'd like to see Enterprise era content. Discovery content is there. You can play it or not play it. Yeah, that's a good idea. If we've got the TOS faction and we have the Discovery faction, DSC Starfleet, why not an Enterprise faction? Let's just go all the way back to the 22nd century and have a Enterprise faction that we start off in the 22nd century, do like 5 or 10 missions, and then thrust us back into the 25th century like the rest of them. I mean, why not? At this point, shoot, yeah. Why not? Some of the newer Federation ships, yes. The rest of that junk, hard no. I don't know about this. They already took out some old missions, which is, I didn't like it that they took out the old missions. I agree with you. They took out many old missions, and they said they're going to put some of them back in, but I haven't seen that yet. And I also don't like that. Many old missions have been taken out, and yeah, that ruins the whole experience, honestly. Due to my personal bias against Star Trek Discovery, I cannot enjoy the game as much as I should, but I do see the effort put into the game, and I respect it, so I will support it. I wish I could watch Discovery no cable. Yeah, well, you don't need cable to watch it. It's on CBS All Access, so just on the internet. 2 Discovery updates, and both had only 2 missions, and now they are doing another one with probably 2 more missions. If they continue like that, I am just going to stop playing. Yeah, not enough missions on the DSC Starfleet faction. Your outro is crazy loud. Sorry about that. What is actually the issue is my voice hasn't been as loud. I've been trying to play with this new preamp and get the volume right, and I guess I just haven't got it right, and so my voice has been low, and then all of a sudden the outro comes in loud. Sorry about that. Hey Brent, whatever content comes out that is Star Trek and is involved with the game, then yes, I want to see it and have you make content on it. Thank you for all your hard work each and every day to bring us the content that you do bring us, and just keep it coming. Well, certainly, absolutely. Thank you. Since Discovery's storyline deals with the Klingons, I would like to see some KDF content that tells the story from the Klingon side of the story. So I challenge Cryptid to begin working toward doing this. It would help to bring more content to the genre. Yeah, it's always the Klingons and the Romulans get the shaft, don't they? Always, when new stuff comes out. No more Star Trek Discovery. I would like that they create content from Star Trek Enterprise. Yeah, I would like to see more Enterprise stuff. I'm actually in agreement with you there. I want more Enterprise stuff too. I don't care about anything with Discovery content. If was the Orville, it would be different. Personally, no. While I love Discovery, it's hard to see the payoff. They are making the expansion too fragmented. Mirror of Discovery is an example. Where is Tikma's sister? I don't know who that is. Totally love to see more An emphatic no. I would like to see more done with the Delta and Gamma Quadrant. See, that's another thing too. They have given us these areas of space, and the Delta Quadrant is only just a sliver of the Delta Quadrant. There are many more possibilities to create Delta Quadrant stuff, and there's many more possibilities to create Gamma Quadrant stuff. I would also like to see that expanded. Yes, I want more disco stuff. I want to see more new Star Trek things. Discovery is a breath of fresh air for Star Trek. Season 2 is amazing. Characters are awesome. Visuals and music are outstanding. Old Trek is a classic and will always be in my heart, but I want to boldly go where no Trekkie has gone before. There is plenty of room for different Star Trek, and disco is the way in 2019 and forward. And also, while I do think that calling Discovery STD is pretty funny, it's well established now that it's a DSC, just like Voyager is Voy and not STV. So somebody there very enthusiastic about Star Trek Discovery. Certainly your opinion. I think Season 2 is way better than Season 1. I think if people just start with Season 2 and forget Season 1 ever happened, they'd probably like Discovery a lot better. Now we'll have to see what happens with Season 3. I've kind of been wondering what they're going to do with Captain Killy in the future. Agreed, they've started this thread with her, but where are they going? Who knows? Before we do that, give me a temporal light cruiser that isn't 1.5 billion EC. Yes to more Discovery. As you said, allows them to just cut and paste and freeze up resources. Hopefully the freed up resources can then be used to slay bugs, making Stowe even better. You have to admit that they have addressed a lot of the bugs lately. My concern is the freed up resources would instead be moved to the Magic the Gathering project and not replaced. A clear no. I never want Discovery stuff in Stowe. It's not Star Trek, and although it's hard to watch to know what's going on with the whole retconning they obviously did in Season 2, the whole thing gets more and more ridiculous. When Stowe changed the mission log and also added TFOs, it seemed to me as if they start to sell us TFOs as content. And what have we now? No featured episodes anymore, just featured TFOs. No content, no story, just wham bam, thank you ma'am. Save another planet nobody knows or cares about. It seems like after the Jim Hadar storyline, Cryptic ran out of ideas and inspiration how to further utilize the potential the game still has for real Star Trek content. It's pretty sad. Oh, the poll, by the way, is anytime you want to find a poll in these videos, you go to the top right corner of the screen and click on it on your computer, or I guess you can do it on your cell phone with your finger, and the poll is in the top right corner. This is a good point here. They are selling TFOs as content. I get that. I see that. And I hope others do too. We used to get these things called featured episode series, and that stopped. And now they are using TFOs to sell us as new content. And the TFOs are always temporary. The featured TFOs are temporary anyway. I would like to get back to more missions. Bring us more missions, not TFOs. Tired of TFOs. Give me missions. I watched the free broadcast first episode of Discovery. It wasn't Star Trek. Although I have listened to reviews, I haven't watched Discovery again, except for the free episode of Season 2, because I accidentally left YouTube autoplay on and decided to give Discovery another chance. Same reaction as the first, and this time they didn't have the excuse of being a new show. They simply refused to follow canon. If CBS wanted space, pew-pew, and kinky Game of Thrones-like scenes, they should have pursued something like Buck Rogers in the 21st century. As a serious Trek fan for all of my life, I don't take it well when CBS and Discovery cast insult fans. I mean, that was Jason Isaacs thinking when he made snide comments and dared us not to watch. That was beyond juvenile. It was toxic taunting. And scriptwriters who wouldn't know a Gorn from a Tribble, or that don't know grasp science in a science fiction show, that was doomed effort from the start. Discovery Season 3, who cares? Discovery content in Stowe, same. Galaxy Quest and the Orville are genuinely closer to the spirit of actual Star Trek Discovery will ever be. And if CBS would like to know how that can be, they honored the fans. Discovery pushed an alienating agenda. Big difference. Well, that person definitely has their opinion there, a very strong opinion, and there's some things in there I agree about. I believe it was one of the writers or somebody earlier in the show who they admitted they didn't even know or care about how like the turbolift switches work in the TOS turbolift, like the Like, you know, when in the TOS Turbo Lift, they would walk in and turn the little thing on the wall and then say what floor they wanted to go to. She like admitted that she couldn't even fathom how that would work. And those are the kind of people that were, you know, designing Discovery. And you know, just what it is it's people that they don't know they don't know Star Trek. They don't know the history. They don't know how things work. They say they're fans, but they're not. They don't know Star Trek. And they're coming on and trying to do things and do things their own way, but they don't care about the history and past of Star Trek. So I think that's what has happened a lot, and it happened more so in the first season of Discovery. Season 2, I've got to say, is a lot better, though. But yeah, obviously, it's still not perfect. It is nowhere near perfect. Yes, I would like to see more content from Discovery and Stowe, but also from other Star Trek series. But most of all, I would like to see Cryptic relaunch those missions from the Klingon War. They have cut and fixed the available missions tab so you can play the Breen missions, the Davidian missions. Yes, why did they move those series, the 4400, the Davidian mission, the Breen missions, why did they move those away from the main mission log? They put them back into this available tab. Nobody knows it's there. If you're new to the game, you're never going to visit that tab to see if they're there. You won't even know what they are. You don't even know that it's a series of 5 missions. You wouldn't know that. There's no way. They need to be part of the main missioning like it used to be. Makes no sense that they took those out. The decisions like that are what make me angry. I mean, really does. And yeah, the Klingons always get in the shaft. Yes, I dislike the Star Trek Discovery content. I feel it doesn't the real timeline of anything else at all. Doesn't feel like the real timeline. The only thing I care about Stowe is the first contact day and summer event, and also dilithium. I think DSC era has run its course. However, a control-style extensive story arc would be really nice. Something where an AI is threatening all life. Massive space battles. Introduce new alien life for future story arcs, or something from the Andromeda Galaxy, since the Iconian Gates are linked there. That's another good point. We never picked up on the fact that their Iconian Gates link to the Andromeda Galaxy. That's where the Iconians went. They had a Dyson sphere there. So the thing is, there's got to be stuff in the Andromeda Galaxy that the Iconians influenced. That would be a great storyline if they want to expand the game and continue an interesting Star Trek story of like Discovery and stuff. I don't mean the USS Discovery, but I mean like Discovery in the true definition of the word. Then going to the Andromeda Galaxy would be huge. Absolutely huge. I would love that. Having the disco content is just lazy route for development. I feel the story content in Stowe has been media core since Kestrel, Christine Thompson, left Cryptic, and the last of her storyboards have been run. I feel that Cryptic is pressured to do certain content. While I bet that Cryptic can say no, they don't, due to wanting to have a good relationship with them to make sure they keep the license. I've heard this a lot about the license, so it could be. When the time comes for a renew, having that good relationship with CBS Paramount helps them in the long run. I would really prefer that they trickle in the fan service stuff and focus on unique content and improving the game overall. The game is really in a bad state. The quality of the content is inconsistent throughout the game. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's inconsistent. The game could be good, but the quality is just so bad these days. The bugs, the quality, the inconsistency, they have got to clean it up. Really, really do. They need to modernize this game, and that's where they need to spend their money and resources, honestly. The only thing I do not like about Discovery is the lack of Romulan ships. Hope Discovery shows more Romulan stuff. The Day 1 ships are the last Romulan vessels in the game, and they're a year old. Yeah, Romulan ships, always getting the shaft too. STD is not canon. Look at the videos of Midnight Edge for a clear point. Discovery is a prime timeline like the Kelvin timeline. Well, no, it's not prime timeline. It would be an alternate timeline like the Kelvin timeline. Yeah. To put it politely, Star Trek Discovery is an abomination, poorly written, excessively violent, and totally unrecognizable from a prime timeline perspective. I welcome the day when CBS executives pull the plug and put all of their backing behind the new Picard series. I want more fulfilling stuff. So far, the DSC-based content has been paltry at best, probably because they are restricted by the concurrent show. They can't go crazy, do whatever they want, which was a problem with the previous content they did not have to worry about to a smaller degree since the movies and prior TV shows are all ended. I like most of the Discovery content, except what they did with the tutorial made me angry. They did a very lazy job with it and covered the same plot points as the Federation tutorial, just in a very sloppy, non-creative way. And I agree, it is a redress of the Federation tutorial. They could have done a lot more there. They had a lot of potential to completely redesign the tutorial. But did they? No. They took what they already had and redressed it with a new coat. I would prefer not, to tell the truth. One of the things I like best about Stowe is that it jumps well ahead of the Abrams movies. I like the idea that the Klingons are aggressive, but on a closer investigation it turns out they are right, and they made the Iconians the overarching villains. I want them to keep moving forward. We can avoid all the weird retcons and go ahead and share new ideas like time crystals and blue ball Klingons. Yep, know what you mean. I'm an Xbox One. I got the other games to play. Call me when this STD garbage stops. No, says Omega Harley. Just a flat out no. I watched every episode of every Star Trek series out there, and I own most of them on DVD. Am I a fanatic? Yes. But what I like to know is how a weapon in Stowe can change its damage. It does X or it does not, right? It should be limited by level, not by where you put it on. How is it possible that bridge officers have only 2 powers available while their promotion options are maxed out? How can it be that a Gorn rock thrower can hit you while you are behind a huge wall? Yeah, so basically just going over all the problems of Stowe. Got it? There are certainly a lot. I think the main question should be, how often should Discovery be in Stowe? Because it's an ongoing show, they've been releasing mini seasons to showcase a particular part of one season sporadically for about a year with no break. If they were to work on a different storyline for a while, then come back after a few months after a season ends, having gotten more time to think about new ideas, it might be more palatable instead of the current Discovery-only theme we have going on now. Another good point. Stagger your work. Do work on one thing, work on Discovery, and then stop, do something different and new, different, not related to Discovery, and then go back to Discovery and back and forth and back and forth. Because, yeah, if this is going to be an ongoing show, we're getting another season, then you're going to have to do that. We don't want to constantly have Discovery stuff all the time. TLRD, no, on all counts. I do not in any way like the show, not even a little bit. I think DSC is literally cancer and is killing Star Trek. I've never been the overly dramatic Chicken Little type. In fact, I loved every single Trek series contemporaneously as they were being aired. All of those I was alive during anyway, TNG, DS9, Voyager, Enterprise. I'm not one of the mob who enjoyed... Ooh, this is a long one. Who opined for the series retrospectively. Did I have criticism? Yes. Did I think they are perfect? No. Did I like every single episode? No. Did I complain publicly? No, not one iota on the internet or anywhere otherwise. So I'm just kind of scanning over this now. You can pause and read if you want. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but definitely no. Star Trek Discovery content brought me back playing Stowe after years. So, I mean, it is helping some people. They pretty much admitted that SCD is not canon, so no. Well, I don't know. CBS says it is canon, so they say it is prime timeline, according to CBS. Being a Gen Xer, TNG and DS9 is my thing, and I can't relate to Discovery at all, having never watched it. Honestly, I just plow through the disco content without even paying attention to the story or learning of the characters. So I say no. That being said, there's plenty of other content in Stowe to keep me occupied. So hey, whatever. The disco content has been all over the place. Holosim to work out tactics to counter a Klingon we've not encountered outside the sim, some minor incursion thing with time travel slapped on, just so they could use the disco era, lazy copy and paste job for space STF. This next one is looking to be another disjointed threat, and so far there doesn't seem to be any way for a decent writer to weave them all into one arc. And decent writing isn't something that's found often within Stowe. Yes, Discovery is a brilliant Star Trek TV show, and I genuinely feel sorry for people that can't see that, especially so-called Star Trek fans. Well, you know, I liked that one, but you know, yes and no, yes and no. Some like it, some don't. After see, when I made this, I hadn't finished season 2. Now that I finished season 2, I'm not as enthusiastic as I was, but I'm also not as down on it as I was. I'm more neutral now. Let me tell you, after season 1, I was way down on Discovery, but after season 2, I got a little bit of hope back. A little bit of hope back. Don't like Discovery, and I don't like most of their stuff added to the game for it, as I'd prefer Cryptic would bring back old stuff like stuff for the Romulan, Tal Shiar, and Section 31, not the Discovery version, and also the Foundry. Would also like them to finish work with the Agents of Yesterday, so there's a faction for KDF and Romulans. Yeah, see, I would like a full Romulan faction instead of having to align with the KDF or Federation. Why don't they go back and like totally flesh out the Romulan one and give us a full faction? Yeah, that's what I want. I'm sure when the Picard series gets in gears, we'll get related stuff to that as well. Not to mention a Section 31 spinoff. That's right, aren't they doing a Section 31 spinoff? So that means more stuff coming from that too, probably. I don't know where these polls are, but I'm not too bothered with them. The polls are always in the top right corner of the video. I'll show you when I'm done with the comments how you access that. I roll my eyes at their wannabe Death Star planet and how their old tech is just as good as most advanced tech in the present. But what does bother me is that the content itself is very lackluster. They have made a lot of really good episodes and storylines in STO, but the new Discovery ones they are focusing on feels very little effort is going on. Age of Discovery 2 episodes, Mirror of Discovery 2 episodes, Rise of Discovery 2 episodes. It's almost like Cryptic doesn't want to put out Discovery content. Yeah, they give us so little. I mean, they just trickle a little bit out at a time. Maybe one big update would be a lot better. I vote no. Discovery is non-Trek to mesh well with the canon Trek STO is based off of. Just look at all the shenanigans they have to pull to get it into STO. Time travel with universe jumping just to get those things into STO. Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's they're having to do these tricks to get that stuff in the game because the game was never developed with those things in mind. They never thought we'd be going back into the past. Only, maybe through a mission or whatever, but we wouldn't have like playable factions that are in the past. After the DS9 content, I have no interest in the Discovery stuff. It's fake Trek anyways. I like Discovery, even if not canon. It's fun. It's not Trek, but it's fun. Watching it while waiting for the new season of The Expanse. Star Trek is old news, and it can't find how it wants to evolve into the future. People are not that naive. Well, here's the thing. Here's how it evolves into the future. Stop making prequels. That's how you evolve into the future, first of all. Stop making prequels. We've done TOS. We've had TOS. We've had now TNG. If they were going to do anything in the past, the best time to do it would be between TOS and TNG. There's time in there to do a series. They could easily do something in there and have like the Enterprise C show up, or a late Enterprise B, but somewhere in there, probably more the C would be better, but somewhere between there might be room for a series. But otherwise, I say just forget all of that and go back to the future. I guess another time in the past they could do would be the actual Romulan War right after Enterprise. That would be fun to see. That might be better as a movie though. But anyway, stop with the past stuff and bring us back into the future. Take us, post-Nemesis. Anything post-Nemesis. That's how you get the show back on track. Personally, I wish they waited till the show was finished. That way they don't run the risk of accidentally making content that becomes canonically incorrect. And we've already crossed that bridge. I love the Discovery TV show. It's visually amazing, and I'm not one of those people who are set in stone about canon. The producers say it's canon, and that's all that's to it. I don't understand people nitpicking over things that aren't necessary to enjoy the show. Yeah, but people get enjoyment from different things about shows. That's what you have to keep in mind. Whereas you might get enjoyment from A, maybe another person gets enjoyment from B. So people enjoy things in different ways. when I see people complaining about canon, it's usually people who aren't even alive when Star Trek. So what does that have to do with anything? You don't have to be alive to enjoy something. I mean, you don't have to have been alive to enjoy something or not enjoy it. These things were still made. You can still understand when something was made. This was made before this. This was made before this, and you can honor that. I've watched Star Trek since it hit reruns in the 70s because I was one when it first aired. I get the fear that they won't create new stories in the game, but a lot of new things in the game are based off plot points from the shows. The Iconians were introduced on Next Generation and Species 8472, isn't it? Or on Voyager. Most of the game's content is from the TV shows or movies. As much as I do love Discovery, I also look forward to content based on the post-Nemesis era of Trek. I think with a new Picard show, we'll get that content. Yeah, post-Nemesis for sure. All these no's, lol. I'd absolutely like to see more DSC era content. I get not liking something, but this is getting ridiculous. Also, how are we arguing if it feels like canon? I think that is silly. Have your opinions about the show or how much you'd like included, but it is what it is. Yeah, but there is also canon, because okay, let's, certain things do have to happen at certain times. I mean, there is a canon that has. I think you can bend canon somewhat. You can even change it if there's a good reason, but they haven't shown a good reason to change it. It's like certain things are just the way certain things are. It's like, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but you have to follow some order. If everything's just out of order, it wouldn't make any sense. And there is an established order on things. It's like, this has been shown here, this has been shown here, this has been shown here. All you got to do is keep to that, and most people will be happy. It's really not a difficult thing to do. The problem is they want to change everything. There's this percentage of change. They want, like, everything's got to be this much different. It doesn't have to be. That's a choice they're making. You get it? That's a choice they are making. It doesn't have to be that way. Trek Yards has said this a lot, but we need to look at the past, like TOS, as like a history piece. It's a period piece, and if you treat it like that, then you can just replicate it. You can still make something visually updated, but keep to the same fundamental principles of that past thing. It can be done. So look how fast they dropped the Jem'Hadar faction. They could have made the Jem'Hadar a really cool faction, but as soon as Discovery came along, they dropped the Jem'Hadar faction. They did it with the Romulan faction that nowhere have done the Jem'Hadar, and even the Klingon faction needs a lot of work. Yeah, I get it. Things are just left and forgotten. No, Discovery sucks. The more they try to jam it down our throats, the more I hate it. Star Trek is dead good while it lasted. I still play Stowe for now. Okay. No, Discovery isn't Star Trek, and CBS and Cryptic are cramming the garbage down our throats. A lot of strong opinions here. Yes, I am a fan of the series and old Trek alike. Bring more Discovery. I like the show, and I enjoy the Discovery content in the game. Stowe doesn't need STD. So it's an odd one. I aren't against it. You are not against it. And we do time travel quite a lot, so us going back to that timeline isn't off the table. But on the other hand, I have the same problem I've had since Voyager finished, and that's been, it's such an interesting time to set stories in what is the aftermath of the Dominion War and the return of Voyager with all the tech and info they gathered on the way back from the Delta Quadrant. Yes, I agree. Again, post-Nemesis stuff. Why aren't we talking about what Voyager brought back from the Delta Quadrant? Why aren't we having more missions where they're out there exploring, the Delta and Gamma Quadrant now that it's post-Voyager? Great opportunity for a lot of stuff. I don't mind the Discovery content, but I wish it wasn't all Discovery content. Mix it up a little bit. Absolutely not. STD makes me stop playing Stowe. Those comments, you do know there are other missions and factions too. Absolutely, there are other ones, but the thing is that's all we're getting right now, and I think this is a valid question to ask. I think it's a valid question. No more STD trash, not canon, not Trek. Of course, I wouldn't mind a scenario where we have to destroy or capture Discovery and get rid of Burnham, and after that, everything reverts back to normal. I have always almost stopped playing because of STD. Not only do I not like the series, it just does not fit established canon, but it makes no sense in the storyline, and I would not call it STD content since most of it is just a rehash of previous content. I say no, as I think between the Discovery and the reboot movies, it's going to be hard to make a new Trek because they are not as successful. I'm just praying the Picard show will be good. No, I don't want more STD. For the first time in years, I have lost all interest in playing. There have been times in the past where I have stopped playing a few months and then I come right back, but honestly, I have not felt an attachment to the game since a couple of months after their first STD release. I started playing this game because it added new stories. Yes, more. I love the new take on the classic. I love the classic, but for what it's worth, Star Trek Discovery tells a much better story than the original series. Next Generation Voyager and DS9 is still better, though. I always want more content. It mystifies me how the haters always just complain. Well, let's not call them haters. Let's say people with differing opinions, right? We all have differing opinions, and nobody's right or wrong. We all have an opinion. If you don't like the series, so be it. Click through the dialogue in the game and you can ignore the story. But more content for the game is always beneficial. More content is good, but it does also need to be good content. You can have just content, and you can have good content and bad content. I want good content. That's all I'm saying. Discovery is part of Star Trek, all right, just like a cancerous tumor growing inside you is part of you. I don't think getting a season 3 means it's a success. Well, I mean, it could have just been canceled after the first season if it was a complete failure. Somebody's funding it. CBS, I guess. So it's a success somewhat for them. But yeah, not a huge success for fans, I guess. TOS was canceled after 3 seasons, and Enterprise was canceled after 4. Yeah, Enterprise definitely. Enterprise was another series like Discovery that had a lot, and I mean I remember because I was right there on the ground floor when it was happening. Had a lot of debate whether it should even be Star Trek or not, as well. So I've been through this before. That's the thing. Star Trek Discovery is not the first series to get this kind of back and forth debate. Star Trek Enterprise had it, and those that were there when it was airing live on TV know how controversial it was. In fact, it wasn't even called Star Trek at first, and they just named it Enterprise. It only got the Star Trek name later. The intro just said Enterprise. So, you know, it was controversial too. Y'all don't realize Discovery makes more sense than TOS. TOS was low budget, and they really had well, yeah, but budget shouldn't matter if a show is good or not. I mean, Doctor Who was low budget during the first, iteration of it, and it turned out great. It was great, even with a low budget. It's all about the storytelling. It's all about the plot, and you can do that on a low budget. And it had bad writing. Well, that's. I don't think TOS had bad writing. I think it was for its time. It seems campy now, but you're judging it based on how things are now. Back then, it was fresh. It was fresh. Toilet paper ships. I mean, now you're just poo-pooing the show. I mean, come on. They did what they could with what they had. In fact, from what I understand, the first pilot of TOS Star Trek, The Cage or whatever, the very, very first pilot one was a very high budget. Was a very high budget launch. The pilot, I mean, they spent a lot of money on the pilot. So no, it actually did start off with a high budget. They proposed it with a high budget. So it later on went to a lower budget, yes, but it didn't start out that way with the pilot. Discovery makes more sense with a more updated look. Well, I mean, that's just because things have been updated. I mean, honestly, again, it's all about the story, right? Not the budget. Blah, 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 blah. And anyway, I'd rather have more Discovery in Stowe than that. Whatever. Don't poo-poo TOS. It was good in its time. It had its moments. Like I said, the pilot was a high-budget pilot. and they did what they could with a lower budget during the series, and it had good stories, and it started this whole thing. Without TOS, we wouldn't be where we are today. We wouldn't have a Star Trek Online game. So be thankful for what came before. We do need to honor the past and be thankful for what happened in the past and what has led to where we are today to have Star Trek in our lives. So I absolutely honor it for that. Well, I have come to the end of all the comments, and this has been a 1-hour video. I hope you all enjoyed that. I definitely appreciate all the feedback, comments, and polls that you have done. I thank you all so much for your participation. By the way, to always get to those polls when I put them in a video, see this little eye up here? You just click that, and that's where the polls were. And then you just select yes or no or yes or no. So always the top right of the video, and I'll say that in the dialogue when I put those up there. Polls for this kind of thing are in the top right of the video. Now, I can also do polls in the discussion part of my channel. I haven't done any right yet, but I could put under community. I'm also able to put polls here. I can post, as you can see, I can add a poll in the community section. I didn't do that for this one. I just made a video, but that's always a possibility in the future. So anyway, I want to thank everybody again. Thank you for polling. Thank you for watching that video. Thank you for participating. Thank you for leaving your comment. I covered everybody. And so now you can see it really is back and forth. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Everybody has differing opinions. Nobody's right or wrong. Let's all respect each other, respect our opinions, and respect what came before. Respect Star Trek and respect where it is going moving forward. It is in a time of change, just like everything else. It's trying to figure out where it needs to go. And I feel, my opinion, is stop with the prequel stuff and get back to the post-Voyager, post-Nemesis stuff. If you go there, I think Star Trek can succeed. That's the future of Star Trek. That's where it needs to head. And also in this game, Star Trek Online, that's where it needs to head. Now that said, I believe some past shows could work if done correctly. And they haven't done Discovery correctly, but it could be done correctly. There are time periods that can work. One of the biggest things I've always wanted to see is the Earth-Romulan War of the 22nd century, right after Enterprise. They were leading up to that in the 4th season of Enterprise, but never really got there. That's what I would like to see. It would be epic. Imagine like a movie, the Earth-Romulan War of the 22nd century. That would be totally epic. But do it right, and it can be pretty cool. So there are areas like that that could be done if they do it well. But otherwise, if you're going to have like a running TV show, make it post-Voyager, post-Nemesis, and you're golden. Stop with the prequel stuff. It's really simple. Real simple. Okay. All right. I hope you all enjoyed that. Again, thank you for all the feedback. Let me know what you think below of this kind of review video of the poll results and the comments. If you want to see more of these kind of videos on my channel, leave a like, leave a subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know that you like them, and I will do more of these kinds of things moving forward in the future. And maybe who knows, maybe even do like a live chat type of scenario for this type of thing. It's an idea I'm floating. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next one. Thank you for watching this video. Follow me on Twitter at Brent_Justice for video updates across all of my channels. Also help support the channel on patreon.com/BrentJustice, where for only $1 you gain access to Discord chat for all of my channels. Come chat with us. Also check out my general gaming channel, Borg Drone, at youtube.com/c/BorgDrone1 for other game Let's Plays. All of these links are also in the description below. Help me on the road to 50,000 subscribers for this channel. With your support, we can make this happen.